Hey there, only when provoked. I know a lot of people have already been giving you shout-outs, and I don't even know how many people are going to bother to see this thing. Since you've probably already gotten a lot of hits, people tend to respond to your videos pretty quickly. Good reason for that, they're pretty good. But I just wanted to make a short video because I wanted to say that I am totally with you in every respect on this video, and I think you're getting to the heart of things, because I know that each one of us feels like we're alone in this, and that there's nobody, well, certainly not a significant number of people who agree with us. But I just want to kind of relate an interesting story, because this morning I talked to my dad, and my dad is retired. He's 70 years old, and he just talking to him about some of the stuff that's going on in the economy, just because I respect his opinion on these things a lot. And my dad for a long time has been a very conservative person. He's really been loosening up in the last few years, and now he's to the point where he just thinks that our system is very, very sick and very, very corrupt. I mean, he has to have a certain measure of faith in it, because we're talking about his livelihood. He's living off of his investments. And honestly, if they all tank, he's going to be in a whole lot of trouble. But I mean, he's not one of these casual investors. He's not someone who, just goes where a certain magazine or a certain newspaper tells him to go. He does his own research. He investigates these things. He figures stuff out on his own. He follows all of his investments very carefully. So between that and him, at one point, getting up to being, I think it was the vice president of a small savings and loan, out in California. My dad has a great deal of, financial savvy and understanding of the financial markets. And honestly, I've never seen him so completely bitter in all my life. Well, heard him, because I was talking to him on the phone. And it was just amazing to hear this guy who had worked, in the banking industry, talking about how little respect he had for the people who are the architects of our current financial crises. The level of rage he has about, the people who are running these banks and taking these horrific risks and expecting to be bailed out, and how irresponsible they are with other people's money, and probably most important of all, the fact that they're getting away with it, and there are no consequences, and there's no accountability. I mean, in fact, my dad was talking about it, and he said, he mentioned this to somebody else who called him a creep for saying it. But, I mean, he's been so mad, he talks about, golden parachutes. He says, you know what, we should make an actual golden parachute for these people. A parachute made out of gold, and we should, take them up to 25,000 feet, to give them their golden parachute and push them out of the plane. So, when my dad, who's I'd probably consider to be a Goldwater Republican, maybe somewhat less happily a Reagan Republican, starts talking about the people who are running our financial institutions that way. I mean, I think that speaks at least to some rising of consciousness, some, nominal level of awareness. The general public possibly starting to become, somewhat cognizant of the fact that maybe everything isn't hunky-dory. And I think that's important, because, I mean, all those points you make, about Palin being, a total nut, etc., I tend to view those in very psychological ways. I mean, Palin, to me, and religion in general, the religion that I think she symbolizes, is the quality of denial in the American public. I think one of the things in that silly movie Independence Day that I think is entirely accurate is that they talk about how attendance in churches would be going through the ceiling if aliens suddenly appeared all around the world. And they would do that in spite of the fact that nothing, I think, would more clearly signal the fact that the whole idea of God and religion is BS, than a bunch of alien spaceships appearing over our major cities. And yet, I think that's precisely the response that people would have to that kind of situation. Well, and I think right now, hostile alien ships are basically hovering over our economy, getting ready to, systematically destroy it. And so what are people doing? They're running to Palin and, the comfort of religion and the notion that, even if everything goes totally haywire and we blow the world up, well, that's just part of the plan. And, it's a way of kind of being comfortable, getting everybody sort of more relaxed about the apocalypse. And so, I don't know. I think it's amazing the number of people who are normally, fairly straightforward about this stuff who are now saying, I honestly don't know what's going to happen at this point. And that's certainly the way, I feel about it. I mean, I wish my wife and I had been better able to prepare ourselves for what seems like it's going to happen right now. But honestly, there's just too many other people that we're trying to help at the moment, and we're kind of a little bit, tapped out at a point when we probably shouldn't be. But, at a certain point, very soon, we're all really going to be in this together, and in a way that's going to be undeniable and unignorable. And I'm hoping that this is going to be a positive thing, that we're not going to turn on each other, that we're not going to let these divisions in our society, which we've been hit over the head with, I hope those are not going to rule our reaction. They're not going to define the way that we deal with the crises that are coming up. Because if we're going to be like that, if we're going to turn on each other, not care about what happens to one another, then the answer we're going to get when the bottom falls out is going to look like New Orleans. It's going to look like Iraq. These are your neocon, free market solutions to these problems. Now, if we care about each other, maybe we get something approaching the New Deal. I know there's some people who watch this thing who think the New Deal is the source of all evil. But on another level, the New Deal helped a lot of people get through a really dark time. And we actually produced a lot of good things for the country at that time. But more important than anything, I want that quality of everyone helping out everybody else and realizing that we're in it together that we had in the New Deal. We need to pull together. We need to not turn on one another. We need to raise awareness, and we need to work for actual solutions that will solve our problems. Anyway, you put that so much more clearly and simply than I can. I really appreciate it, and I just wanted to do a response video. Let's keep talking. Let's keep trying to figure this thing out. Zach at Feel Free to Argue.